Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you want to grow your revenue fast, most people think they need more leads, more calls, more new clients. What I'm going to show you today is how to grow your revenue without any of those things. And it feels like cheating because it's practically free. And I guarantee very few people in your market are doing it. Quick bit of context. For the last 20 years, I've been building and scaling businesses, one of which we successfully took all the way through to an IPO. For the last 5 years, I've been building my own consultancy, which we scaled to 7 figures, working with online business owners, helping them scale their revenue without the need for cold outreach, complicated funnels, or a large team. And the mistake that I see almost everybody make is that they assume that revenue is always an acquisition problem. More leads, more new clients, but the reality is, show me your LTV and I'll show you your revenue growth. So what do I mean by LTV, or lifetime value? So let's say a client is paying you $2,000 a month. If they stay with you for 4 months, that client is going to be worth $8,000. If they stay with you for 14 months, they're going to be worth $28,000. That's a $20,000 difference. So forget about leads and new clients. If you can just keep people for a lot longer and maybe even upsell them into different things down the line, the lifetime value of that client is going to increase. The longer you keep a client with you for, the more chances they have to refer other people. So it's just mathematics. And also, you can capture multiple case studies from people as they go, because their transformation from 0 to 6 months might be worth a case study. From 6 months to 12 months might be worth another case study. And then at 14 months, maybe you go through the whole thing 0 to 14 months. So the longer someone stays with you for, the better the case studies are going to be, the better the testimonials you'll receive, and the more of them you get. And there's 6 different things that we can do to make that happen. And I'm going to walk through these one by one now. Oh, and if you are a coach, consultant, or online business owner, and you want to scale your revenue without the need for cold outreach, complicated funnels, or large teams, then in the description below, there's a few options. You can either DM me the word Orbit on either LinkedIn or Instagram. You can click the link to a video which goes into much more detail about exactly how we work. Or there's also a 7-day email sequence, which includes 7 training sessions specifically geared around getting you to your first $20,000. So in the description, those are 3 options. Okay, so first, the client roadmap. It's so important for you and your clients that you have a very clear roadmap that they're about to embark on. For the client, it allows them to understand where on the journey they are, where they are now, where they've been, and where they're going to. I had, at the very start of my consultancy, as we were building things, one of the mistakes I made wasn't being crystal clear on the path for our clients. And I remember one day, it was super painful, had one of our best performing clients. She just 5 times her revenue in less than 5 months, which was crazy. She'd already committed to work with us for 12 months. And 5 months in, she sends me a message and says, hey, I've just signed up. I'm going to be working with a paid ad agency. And I know when you work with multiple different coaches or multiple different mentors, things can get quite messy more often than not. And frustratingly, I knew that we were going to be working with her on paid ads in about 6 weeks' time. It was in my head, it was on her roadmap. But because I'd not articulated that, I'd not made it clear to her, she didn't know what was on its way. So she just thought, this has been amazing, this is so great, but here's this shiny new thing over here. And once that was dangled in front of her, she paid the deposit. I think she paid a year up front and she'd signed up. There was no refund policy or anything. So even though I told her then, look, stay with us, we're gonna actually walk through paid ads next, it was too late. And I realized in that moment the importance of crystal clarity for your clients. Then for you as a business owner, if you don't have clarity on the roadmap, it's impossible for you to be consistent. Consistency becomes an impossibility, And the problem with that is that if you're not consistent and you've not developed what we call a signature methodology, which is one way of delivering your service over and over again, with obviously little tweaks and customizations, but predominantly the same roadmap, it makes delivering the service 10 times harder, because now you're trying to figure things out as you go along, and it's inconsistent for you and really difficult to manage. And again, at the start of my consultancy, this is exactly what I was doing. I was trying to give everybody a completely bespoke experience. And what that led to was spinning lots of plates, always psychologically trying to track where everybody was at. And it wasn't a great experience for me. And it meant that I couldn't actually scale the business. It was more difficult to scale. In the end, to continue that path, we ended up having to hire success coaches, and the team got bigger, and it turned into something that I didn't actually enjoy running. So having a signature methodology, the way that you do things, how you help people get from A to B to C to D to E, make it clear for you and clear for them. That way they stay with you for the long haul, because they can see the vision, they can see where they're going. Super important. And we want to make sure that it's easy to articulate. And the reason we want to make it easy to articulate is, one, it helps us with our messaging, with our marketing. So where we are from a positioning perspective, it's easy for us to explain to people the journey that we take people on, as an example. But more importantly than that, for our clients, if someone asks them about the program or someone asks them about your service, if they can easily articulate it like you would in an elevator pitch, it means that they can easily tell people what it is that you do, which massively enhances the referrals that you get. So making sure that it's easy to articulate is absolutely key. So having a client roadmap is so important. Secondary is your payment date to the first 30 days. So effectively, once somebody pays, taking them all the way through to the end of their first month. This is so important, because when they pay is often not when they start. So if someone makes a payment and then you have your onboarding or your welcome in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, there's a gap between when they pay and when they start. And we want to make sure that they're really well looked after. We've all heard of buyer's remorse. We want to make sure that no one who purchases our services gets buyer's remorse. So making sure that from the minute they pay, all the way up until you have your first conversation with them, or they first enter the community, or you have your first session, we want to make sure they're really looked after and they've got a real clear understanding that they are in good hands, so they don't have buyer's remorse. Onboarding, to me, onboarding feels like I've just bought a SaaS product. You get onboarded with a custom software tool. I don't think, if you're working with people, you're working with clients, I think we get rid of the word onboarding and we replace it with a welcome, because effectively what you're doing is you're welcoming them into your world, and they're now going to start having a service from you. So we change the mentality here, and what we do is we actually over deliver to make sure they feel loved, they feel cared for, they feel like they're in the right place, they know exactly what it is that they're doing. So I've got a few examples here. Orientation. So what are you using? Skool Community? Are you using Circle? Are you using Slack? Are you using WhatsApp? Do you have a wins channel? What do they do and how do they do it? So the orientation, which would include the logistics. So they're very clear on what do I need to do every single day, every single week, and every single month. Then the roadmap. So this comes into here. We make sure that they're super clear. What is this journey going to look like for me? And being really honest. That's another thing. Being really honest. It's one thing that I've seen happen time and time again is that there's a temptation to overpromise at the beginning. I'm not going to blame Alex Hormozy for this, but the $100 million offer book, which talks about how to create amazing offers, and in Amazing Offer, you reduce the timeline for people to get results. You make the results crazy. You give them no reason to say no. All of those great things. The problem can be, or the challenge can be, if you onboard somebody and you have expectations that they're going to achieve massive amounts in a very short space of time, puts tremendous amount of pressure on the first 30 days. So we want to make sure that we're really realistic, not to scare them away, but we just let them know that everything takes time. Losing weight, learning a new skill, building a business, like all these things take time. Nothing's going to be done in 2 weeks. So we get really clear on the roadmap and the expectations. Then we want to share our values. What are our values? Our values, the values of our community and our clients. We want to make sure that we make it really clear who we are and how we want to show up. And then, of course, quick wins. And I don't mean getting the end result in 14 days, but what can we do in that first 30 days to make them feel like they've made the right decision? What kind of a win can we do? As an example, if you help people with their social media, maybe it's a social media audit and completely redoing their profile. You know, there's lots of different ways that we can make sure that we get quick wins. That's going to be really key. Then we'll talk about the scoreboard. So this, in any business, and I'm so passionate about this because in my background scaling tech startups, metrics were so important. Now, for you and your clients, it's really important that you're tracking the right metrics. My advice would be don't track too many because it can get overwhelming, but just pick a small amount of metrics and track them over time. If you're helping someone with business growth, you probably want to be looking at revenue, you want to be looking at lead generation. If you're helping someone with Instagram or LinkedIn, you probably want to be looking at the reach of their posts, you want to be looking at their conversion from posts to leads, like all of those things. So think about the type of metrics that you would want and then track them internally and externally. So really important for your clients to be able to see progress over time. It's so important because progress is king. It really is. And for your clients to understand the journey that they're on. So good for your clients to see that, but really important for you internally to see the progress of each client. One of the things that we incorporated very early on in my consultancy, and it's something that we help all of our clients do as well, is we implement what we call a traffic light system for our clients based on green is they're amazing, they're smashing it, they're super happy. Amber is something's not quite working, but something is. So maybe they're really happy, but the results are not there. Maybe the results are great, but they've gone a bit AWOL. And then we've got red, fucking disaster. They're about to leave, they're a churn risk. And what we want to do by tracking the traffic light system, the only way we can do that is by attributing metrics. That's the key. We need to make sure that we're tracking metrics. We want to look at, have they been turning up to the calls? Is their revenue going in the right direction, or are the metrics going in the right direction? So if we track that internally, we can then look at all of our clients and say, these ones are red, these ones are amber, and these ones are green. So super helpful for us, but also super helpful for them. And naturally, with any progress, it's never linear. So there's going to be moments where things dip and things sag and things flatline, or even times things go backwards. That they're the important ones to put your arms around your clients and make sure that they know that they can see that progress is being made. The minute they feel like it's gone flat and they can't see where they've been and they can't see where they're going, all of a sudden they start to think, am I even in the right place here? So super important. Then one of my favorite things is the magic, baby. That is so important for any client experience. We want to make sure that we're sprinkling that magic on top of that. Now, what do I mean by sprinkling the magic? And don't mind me just drinking out of my cup that has nothing to do with this. So, first and foremost, if you listen to any Alex Hormozy, the one thing that he will say is, for the love of God, meet the goddamn expectations. Whatever you said you were going to deliver, just fucking deliver it. It's really important that you meet the expectations of your client first and foremost. So let's not forget about that. Sometimes people start to sprinkle the magic in and they don't deliver on the expectations. And I can promise you right now, if you deliver massively over something really fucking cool for your clients, but you're not delivering on the bare minimum expectations, they won't give a shit. So it's really important that we set the expectations and we deliver against them first. The next thing is the temptation to overkill. I've seen so many business owners think they have to go ridiculous and like massive with how they want to wow their customers. You don't need to do it. It's going to be hard for you and it'll be overwhelming for them. It's really hard. It can be quite expensive. So don't think about overkilling. Instead, an exercise that I like to do, and you might have seen this as a podcast, but the CEO of Airbnb, the founder, Brian Chesky, he talked about the 11-star experience. And what he effectively meant is that he and his team, they sat down and they said, okay, let's go through 1 star through to 3, 5, all the way up to 11 for a Airbnb experience. And it was like 2 stars would be, you turn up to the Airbnb, you ring the bell and nobody's there. And then he worked all the way up to 5 star and he was like, 5-star experience is that you turn up, the host is there, they give you the keys, they're super friendly, they let you in, the apartment's nice, everything's there as expected, meets expectations, 5 stars. Then they started to go on 6 stars, 7 stars, all the way up to, and I think 11 stars for them was like Elon Musk met them. It was a private jet. Elon Musk met them and said, let's go to Mars first, take you up to space and come back, all this sort of stuff. Like a crazy experience. And then what you do is you go all the way up to 11 and then you work backwards and you say, okay, well, what are the 6-star experiences? What are these little things? So in Airbnb, if you'll notice in a lot of them, the way they think about 6 stars is like the tiny little additions. So when you arrive to an Airbnb, can there be milk in the fridge, maybe a bottle of wine, maybe some bread, maybe some cheese? So the little things, and then maybe there's like a map out, maybe there's some of the local restaurants circled and why they should go there. And it's the nice little touches that an Airbnb host can make that makes it 6-star. And this is the key. And I've seen this play out so many times because the tiny little touches, that's what people talk about. That's how they refer people because they think about those little things. Oh, I went to this place once. Yeah, and the owner, he left 2 bottles of wine, 2 glasses and a thank you note on the side for booking the Airbnb. How amazing was that? And then you tell people. Now, what I did in my tech business that I launched several years ago, after we'd raised investment from all of our investors, we left a small portion for the first customers that we onboarded. So every single customer that we onboarded, I think it was the first 100, called it the founding 100 customers, they all got shares in the business. And it was just a tiny little thing. It didn't really cost very much. It wasn't worth a huge amount. But we made a nice song and dance about it. Every single client or customer we brought on board shared it to their social media. People saw it and we got inbound. These like magical touches, super important. Okay, number 5, the room. This is your room, your business, the service that you deliver, but it's the community that you build with the clients that you have. And I would strongly encourage you, even if you work with people one-to-one, is bring your clients together as often as you can. Because honestly, the community that you create will help you retain clients for a lot longer and again, enhance your LTV and enhance the amount of referrals that you've got. If you can, and only if you can, create a sharing culture where people, including yourself, can share wins, challenges, things that you've tried. It happens all the time with the clients that we work with. As an example, one of our clients, Matt, who helps people with their personal branding on LinkedIn, he shared in the community last week the results of one of his clients that had reposted and recycled content from the past and just how well recycled content did. And again, everybody's ears pricked up and thought, hang on a minute, I've got all of these pieces of content from the past that did well. And then they started to recycle their content. So really important that you foster a sense of sharing within your community. And if you can do that, people will stay for much, much longer. They'll initially come for you, but they will, if you do it right, they will stay for the community. And also, as a Brucey bonus, if you can get an in real life catch up with your clients, if you can bring some of them together, maybe you run an in-person mastermind, maybe you run a retreat, there's loads of different ways to do this. But if you meet people in person, it 10 times the relationship that you have with that person because you can see them, you can give them a hug, shake their hand, and like actually get to know them in a physical space, which is super key when it comes to an actual human connection. In my consultancy a few years ago, when we first started, when we had this Founding 100 here, it was amazing for clients and we had this unbelievable community. Back then it was Facebook group that we used. I mean, I definitely wouldn't recommend that now, but it was Facebook groups and people were crazy. People got to know each other really well. It was genuinely amazing. And then as time went on, we kind of took our eyes off the ball with our community, to be honest, and we focused more on delivering the experience. And the challenge there was people started to drop off when they felt like they'd learned what they needed to learn. And this happened for about a year. And then we reignited the community and all of a sudden we had people staying a lot longer and getting to know each other and meeting up with each other in person in different cities. It was an amazing, amazing community, but you really have to fan the flames and cultivate it. And lastly, leverage. Now, we want to run a leverage business because we want to be able to scale and we don't want a massive team to do it, but we also don't want to jeopardize the customer experience. And that is why it's important to be human first in the moments that matter. So we just talked before about the magic. The magic could be your client milestones. Maybe it's the first time they achieved a certain amount of impressions on a post. Maybe it's the first time they achieved a particular revenue milestone. Maybe it's when they've lost X amount of weight. In those moments, it's so important that we do not automate the responses there. We're human. These are the most important parts where we're human first, automation second. And we're leveraged and not manual. So for things that can be outsourced, for things that can be automated, for things that are administrative, let's make sure we're leveraging AI and leveraging our systems as much as we possibly can. You do not want to be manually trying to hold every single client that you have and all of the tasks that you have in your business. Just one example would be the check-in process that you have with your clients. You do not want to be sending a manual message every single week or every single month to say, fill in this check-in form, as an example. You want to make sure that you've got a system and automation to do that. It will be the same thing maybe with reviewing your content every week. You don't want to sit there and go through every one of your posts. You want to set up an AI tool that will basically scrape your social media, analyze it, and give you feedback on what's working. So there are things that you can automate and there are things that you can use AI for, which will allow you to have a leveraged lifestyle and a leveraged business. And this all stems often from, we think our clients want to hear words like bespoke, tailored, custom. And if we use that too much, they are expecting everything to be completely and utterly custom for them. And the danger there is that we're not able to rely on our signature methodology because we're taking every single person on a different path. Instead of that, we want to think about a human-centric service, which has a human at the core of it and has human interactions as a big part of what we do. And we can personalize the experience. We can personalize the signature methodology using AI. So we're using tools to personalize the experience. We're not doing it manually. That is the key. And if we put all of these 6 things together, what we're going to do is we're going to have a business where lifetime value is enhancing, where our referrals are coming in, because the longer a client stays with you for, the more opportunities they get to refer people, the more opportunities for case studies that we get over time. So if you focus on that first, grow the length of time that people stay with you for, I promise you, it will feel like cheating because your revenue will grow. And like I said at the start, your competitors, I promise you, are not focusing on their clients. They're focusing all their attention on the shiny objects, marketing and sales. And whilst they are important, if you prioritize looking after your customers, giving them a great experience and enhancing the amount of time they spend with you, your business is going to grow much faster.